Now, hello and welcome along to this week's edition of the Clare Champion Sports Chat podcast. As we've told you the last couple of weeks, it's Tuesday for the next few weeks because of those championship draws on Monday night. Last night we had the football draws, and the two men beside me were eagerly awaiting their draws because not alone have they got their pundits hats on today, but also their managerial ones as well. We might have the two lads back in again for an intermediate football final preview. Shannon Gales and St. Brickens, you'd never know. Donie Garrihy, obviously St. Brickens manager, and Peter O'Connell, Clare Champion editor and Shannon Gales selector at the moment. Donie, welcome to the Champion Sports Chat podcast. It's your debut here with us. Delighted to have you in studio.
It's my pleasure to be here, and I am really humbled to be here, really happy to be here. I haven't met Peter for a good while, and Peter's a good guy and you're a great guy, and thank you for inviting me.
I think we'll have to bring Donie back.
I think so. I think those brown envelopes we gave him at the door there kind of helped that one. Yeah. Donie, synonymous obviously with Clare Sport across a range of codes, soccer and football obviously as well. We'll have a kind of a Donie special, I think, for the first part of the podcast, where we'll chat about, I guess, your background in sport as well. People will note Oscar trainer titles with Clare, St. Brickens this year, hoping to lead them back to the senior championship as well. Your first interest in sport, or what first got you involved?
First interest in sport, I suppose, in the mid-70s. Brilliant Arsenal team. A brilliant Clare team in hurling in the late 70s. Seamus Derrick, Jim Power, the O'Connors from Tubber, Colm Honan. The Ronaldo for me in the late 70s, the Ronaldo. Was Sean Stack. I know he was a centre half. He was the Paolo Maldini. He was amazing. That inspired me in sport. Sean Stack, you know, the O'Connors. Colm Honan was the sharpshooter. He was the Messi. He could put the ball over the bar from 80 yards, you know, and if you look at him now, he could still play. You know, they were excellent. They were the people. The Arsenal of the 70s was Pat Jennings, the man with the big hands at Arsenal. Liam Brady, Frank Stapleton, John Devine, David O'Leary, you know. So when I was a young boy growing up in Doolin, and I was going to Doolin National School, you know, I was David O'Leary, you know what I mean? And then in the even time I had a hurley, and my brothers Eugene and Joe, and there was Jimmy and Sean and PJ, my father Jack, my late mother, my late father Jack, my late mother Biddy. You know, I was the youngest of 14. You know, you learn how to survive around Doolin, and you know, there wasn't many tourists in Doolin at the time. You know, brilliant place to be brought up, and you know, you learn how to survive when you're the youngest of 14 children. You know what I mean?
That must have made for interesting backyard games, I'd imagine, did it?
Yeah, and you know, I used to go over the road as well to the Fitzpatricks. They were fanatical into the hurling. They just loved hurling, and that great team of the late 70s. They got, you know, they won the 2 national titles, got to the Munster final. I remember I was a young boy. I went to Munster Championship final in the late 70s. With PJ Cullinan and the Flanagans and Gussie McMahon, all these people, you know, Lord to mercy to the Flanagans and William Maloney and all them. And, you know, I remember, I think maybe Peter, you might help me, I think it was Pat Cashman beat us with a late point in the Munster final, 79 or
77, 78, yeah. They were the two Munster finals.
But Clare were amazing. They were brilliant. Derrick was like, you know, Derrick was like Buffon. You know, he was a small version, full of heart, you know what I mean? Sean Stack was the Paolo Maldini. I think Jim Power was the fullback, maybe Jim Power, you know, and he was the Chiellini of Juventus now. You know, that guy, you know, as hard as nails, as tough as nails. And yeah.
They had a lot of personality, Donie.
Oh man. And then Father Harry Bohan. Father Harry Bohan was just fantastic. He was the Brian Cody. He was the Brian Cody of the late 70s, you know, a great man, and hurling was great. I remember going off any chance to get a lift from the cross in Doolin to go to Dr. Daly Park, you know, and to see Noel Casey. You remember Noel Casey, Peter? I saw him score a goal from 45 yards out near the sideline, an absolute rocket, a bullet of a shot. It was against Offaly back in Dr. Daly Park, and then I'd go home and I wouldn't be able to sleep. Because I was actually after scoring it. I wanted to score it. I wanted to be Noel Casey outside in the back in the field with the hurley. So that was something that sparked it, you know. That sparked the love of sport and the interest of sport and how important sport is. And you know, great people, Jim Hillary, the late Jim Hillary in Doolin, William Maloney, the late William Maloney. Before I get to the great man himself, then it was Pat Harrington, Francie Hawes, Christy Hogan, great people. And then there was Frank Sheedy. Man.
I remember
tell you one thing.
I remember doing an interview with Frank a good few years ago.
Yeah.
Fascinating man.
Oh man, Frank was a big supporter of me, and you know Frank was a Gael, yeah. Now when I mention Chiellini, when I mention him, you know how tough he is, right?
Able to back himself.
Frank was 5 of Chiellini's. You know what I mean? He was 5 of them, and I'm telling you, he could back up whatever he'd say. Frank was a great man. He was a brilliant Brecons man. He was a brilliant Clare man. He was a brilliant man for sport, and I learned that later in life. You know, when Frank was up in 90, I remember Frank. You know, I've referenced this a few times, and you know what? I get pleasure saying this on the screen because this will go down in history. When I was lucky with success I called the Gaelic football the GA. I called soccer the football. When we were lucky with the football results and the Oscar trainer winning the national titles, who was the first man at my door? Frank Sheedy. Frank was backing me. Came out to me. He drove all the way out from Lisdoonvar and he shook my hand. Delighted of you, Donie. That meant so much.
It has come a little bit full circle for you as well, because obviously his grandson Jack is lining out at wing back on your St. Brecons team. You've seen him with Clare underage squads as well. Promising young fella cut from the same cloth.
Oh yeah. Oh man, it's handed down. It can't be handed back. It can't be handed back. You know, it's just amazing. You know, Jack is a great guy. You know, he does his talking with his boots, and you know, it's emotional for me as well. You know, because I had such respect for Frank. You know, and the people that I referenced earlier on, real Brecons men, like, you know, one life, one club. You know, I wear this on my wrist. You know what I mean? And it pumps my heart. You know, I'm a trustee of Brecons for 27 years, and you know, unless I'm removed by somebody, I want to be a Brecons trustee until I die. My sons will play for Brecons. They will never be. It will never be considered they play for anybody else. They will be buried above in Doolin, what God said, where their grandfather was buried, where I'll be buried, and they will wear the Brecons jersey. They'll also play football, of course. You know, they play football as well. They love football. Yeah, I get emotional, Peter, so don't hold it against me.
Oh, not at all.
You know what I mean?
You mentioned the national titles. We want to talk, as we call it soccer, you call it football.
Oh, yeah.
The one who you can't handle out the field. We'll settle on that.
Derrick, yeah.
Obviously, fantastic days for Clare soccer. I know there's a fantastic picture as well of the guy in Derrick that passed away when he won that title up there as well. The name just escaped me at the moment. We'll get it in a minute. And you know, that day, and the likes of the players that you managed, the Stephen Kellys, Owen Hayes, all these guys, they were heady days for Clare soccer.
Yeah.
You came in as, you had been chairman, obviously, then took over as manager, so you saw it from both an administrative and an on-field perspective, didn't you?
Yeah, maybe I had an advantage. Maybe I had, you know, because, you know, we had previous managers before, Mick Shields, you know, qualified man down from Dublin. He manages, he's with Ashley now, he was with Pike the last couple of seasons. Before that, Liam Murphy, Davy Ryan, before that, John O'Malley, Albert Finnan, the late Hugh Kelly. I was involved with them as well, you know, maybe in the administration side. And, you know, when it came to the management, like, I was just watching that space and I was saying, maybe I'll just put my name in there. And so I put my name in there. And, I just said, you know, a lot of good work has been done here, and maybe just to protect it, you know, just to protect it and make sure everything is even going forward. Maybe I'll just put it in there and just see what will happen. So I ended up the manager, and you know, Owen and Stephen, and you know, you can't forget anybody else. You know, brilliant Barry Ryan, just brilliant. You know, brilliant Clare man, super Clare man, wants to win for Clare. That's all that matters. Conor Mullen, you know, the rest of the boys, the brilliant brothers from Budike. You know, you mightn't think of that. You know, the Whelans from Budike. Do you know, like you might hit the pier above in Doolin with the boat, and you might knock a piece off the pier. But if you hit the Whelans, the piece is coming off you. You know what I mean? And that's why they have national titles. That's why they have national medals. And, you know, those boys were brought in on the back of, you know, a history with Dennis Hines, you know, because when I go, Dennis comes with me, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I know Dennis so long, and he's brilliant. And then Darryl Lead came back from retirement, and I asked Darryl to be involved because he had so much experience. I don't want to be leaving Peter you out or anything like that. And
he's making handy money there today, Donie. He's happy.
But Darryl, or the guys here, but Darryl came back. He won in 2004 a national title, and Darryl was always one of these guys full of energy. You know, somebody with an 18-year-old frame, you know, maybe a 30-year-old brain, but like all the experience had in there, playing in Limerick, you know, he was an international badminton player. All of that, hanging around those environments is good. So Darryl came back, and I remember Darryl came the first day, and I said, I just want to have a little word with you, Darryl. He loved me for bringing up this now, but so what? I said, Darryl, you know what I want you to do tonight? I just kind of want you to just have a chat with you. I said, last season, you know, you're kind of in, you're kind of out with Mick, you know, you wanted to be a DJ, you wanted to be a footballer, you wanted to be in a band, you wanted to be a soccer player. So this season I want you to totally commit. And I said, if you go away and you know what is expected of you tonight, and if you don't come back next week, I will still be great friends with you. I'll respect your decision. So when he came in the gate the following week, that means he had his mind made up. I never brought it up again. And he was amazing. Mm-hmm. He was amazing for the whole season. And luckily enough, he told me about 2 months into the campaign, the first year, that his sister, maybe you might know his sister, opened a gym in Ennis. And so he was an ever-present member every morning at 6:30. And he was going for that. You know, that summit. He wanted to reach the summit, because he was coming with us in the training, and he was in the gym in the morning at 6:30. So it kind of, everything fell into place for Darryl, and he was amazing. You know, I there's nobody I don't want to mention, you know what I mean? There's nobody I want to leave out. But like, then there's Dave McCarthy, so like there's 5 people in this room right now. So if there's 65 people in this room, or 85 people in this room, and Dave McCarthy's in here, he'll score a goal in here. So do you know what I mean? He'll find a ball and he'll score a goal. That kind of a fella, you know what I mean? He might be a little, you know, do you know what he does? He gets inside defenders' heads, and he's telling the defender that actually, I'm only here for the trip. I'm only here for the journey. And then the assassin comes in 3 seconds, in 2 seconds. He's an assassin. That's what he is, and game over. And then Davy goes out the gate, and he scored 2 goals. We won 2-0. And sure, the first thing you'll hear people saying, sure, Davy did nothing in the game. Sure, look at, I don't want him to do nothing once he scores 2 goals.
So he's scoring two goals.
Peter, you know, I get a little bit carried away, but, you know, so I want to tell you about great days, and there was great people with me as well, you know, and a brilliant board behind me, a brilliant board that backed me, you know what I mean? And we kept it, and you know, we kept it tight, a tight ship as well, Derrick.
Yeah, but just we'll be breaking in just a quick second. But just to get, when you talk about Donie Garrihy, and I know this from when you took over with St. Brickens, the immediate reaction was that Donie will straighten him, Donie will get the best out of him, there'll be no messing with Donie. And that seems to be a kind of a reputation, Donie, that you've carried, that if you go in somewhere, no matter what, be it business or sport or whatever, that there's standards you set, and it's up to everybody else to meet those.
Derrick, I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate the compliments. You know, I appreciate being down here. You know, but Derrick, just let's go back. What time is it? 3 o'clock? Let's go back 6, 7 hours or 8 hours this morning, yeah? So you get up and you come into work and you're on time, yeah?
Well, I was about 10 minutes late this morning. But Peter wasn't here, so it's fine. He didn't.
And you're on time. Yeah. There's no point in being in something if you're going to be sloppy. There's no point. What's the point of being in something if you're going to be sloppy? It's easier to do it right than do it sloppy. So like, you know, I suppose, you know, being the youngest of a big family and learning to survive. And my father was always a worker. My father died a lot to mercy him. He wasn't retired. He died at 88, and he wasn't retired. My mother worked herself to the grave. You know, so I suppose there's that thing, you know. I got up this morning at 4 o'clock this morning, Derrick, you know, go to work, get ready for work. You know, I don't believe, I believe going to bed is a waste of time. I believe that half time in football matches is a nuisance. I believe in boxing matches that taking a break is like taking it away from the crowd. You know, if you train and if you work hard, you shouldn't have to take a break. You know, so that's just as you have to have the work ethic, like, and you know, when I reference people, you know, I reference Colm Collins. Yeah, I've done it before in the soccer world. You know, what a brilliant person. When you put Colm in front of the mic, it's all positive. It's all common sense. Brian Cody, it's common sense. You know, and then you look at the other side. Arsene Wenger at Arsenal was articulate. He speaks about the mentality, being in the zone, the body, being fresh. But Brian Cody says the same thing with a different language. It's all common sense stuff. It means the same thing. You know, I believe that football was saved in England over the last couple of years with Jurgen Klopp. I believe that he saved football because he brought the passion back into football. I believe that Guardiola brought the passion back into football. I believe that Mourinho was great, but then he was a disaster. I believe he was a disaster, and you know, but he was a good guy. But my God, did he get carried away with his success? You know, Jurgen Klopp wins the Champions League, and he wants to win the championship. You know, his passion. Watch him in the line. Watch the Arsenal manager in the line at the moment. He's passionate as well, but he hasn't got the medals like Klopp. He hasn't got the medals like Guardiola, or like Mourinho. You know what I mean? Or like Arsene Wenger. But I think that football in England was in a bad place. You know, I think they got carried away with the Sam Allardyce, and I think they got carried away that way. It might be a bit controversial. Good person. He managed Limerick. I remember he managed Limerick 25 years ago. Right. He gave out medals above and the Ritz 25 years ago to Burn United to win a third division league title. You know, and good person, but football moves on. Gaelic football moved on huge for me in the last 20 years. I was the 7 matches and the 3 or 4 friendly challenge matches in the Gaelic football, the Cusack Cup this year. I was floating. I was just trying to pick it up. Do you understand me? Yeah. But I have good people with me like Greg O'Leary, Cathal Blood, Sports Science, Conor Shannon, Jersey O'Loughlin, my buddy Pat Hawk, and a great board and good facilities. But Derrick, football has moved on. You know, I ring the horse. I want to get some in Kilmurray. I want to get some guidance here. Do you know what I mean? Like, and Aidan just says, Donie, you'll be grand. You'll be grand. Just let
he's giving nothing away, Donie, because he's expecting you to come up senior next year, I'd imagine. Yeah. Hold those thoughts. We've loads more to get from Donie, as you can well imagine. We might even be doing 2 podcasts this week. We'd never know. Take a quick break. We'll be back very shortly. Now, welcome back to the second half of this week's Clare Champion Sports Chat podcast. As you saw before the break, St. Bricken's current manager and all-round Clare sporting legend, really, Donie Garrihy with us here in studio, along with Clare Champion editor Peter O'Connell. We told you the reason we're on a Tuesday is because of those championship draws on a Monday night. And if you haven't heard by now, the quarter-final lineup for the Senior and Intermediate Football Championship decided. The Senior, it's Kilmurray Bricken versus Kilmehel, Milltown versus Lissycasey, Innistymen take on Dunbeg, and Cratloe versus Innistymen. The 2 lads here beside me were obviously interested in last night's draw. Shannon Gales getting their neighbours Coolmean. St. Brickens will go up against O'Curry's. It's Wolftones against St. Joseph's, Dura Bearfield, and Kildysart versus Kilfenora. 2 weeks time for all those games, so we'll certainly be looking forward to building up to all of those. Donie, St. Bricken's newly down from the senior ranks last year, but have really taken to, I suppose, what you've done this year, operating in the Cusack Cup, really competing as well, holding your status. How did you find, I mean, I know you've been involved in St. Bricken's obviously, but from a managerial perspective, making that transition from the soccer sideline to the Gaelic football sideline, did you see many skills transferring?
I was nervous, really nervous. I told them that. I told them they were taking a chance with me, because not alone is it just county soccer, but we're big League of Ireland fans, and then my sons are involved in little development squads and everything, and it's all soccer, like. And then we go to all the matches. You know, we were last Wednesday night, we were at the Switzerland game. We're going off in 3 weeks' time, me and my sons and a friend of mine, Alfonso off to Istanbul, to go up to Tbilisi, come back to Geneva, watch Ireland, roar on Ireland. I know the administration side is a little bit shady at the moment, but we follow the football. We support our country, support our country through thick and thin. And when it's 10, that's when we support them even more, And the transition, I said it earlier on. I was at sea in the Cusack Cup. I just depended on Greg and Cahill and kind of watched, and maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe the spark came into me. And one thing I want to say about the Cusack Cup, by the way, really impressed. We got a master fixture schedule in February or January or something like that, and every game happened exactly as it said in the schedule. And except for one round at the very end when they wanted games on an extra week before the championship, whatever. And and the referees all came on time with umpires. Really impressive. The games were high intensity, but there's a good bit of shadow boxing in the league football in the Cusack Cup. We played for most of the Cusack Cup without some key players because of injuries from last season. We're lucky enough now, touch wood, that they're back now, and we have a chance. We have a chance. You have to. Your squad players have to remain injury free to have a chance, because every little area of County Clare, little parishes, little communities, we're not blessed with big numbers.
Yeah.
So it's important that we have, our squad kind of remains fit. There's no point, there's no bother in getting them fit, but remaining fit and not being injured is key. That is key. And we've been lucky so far. We don't push them too hard because they all worked like hell up in Doolin, Listonvarn, at the Cliffs of Moher, at the Elwee Cave, everything like that. So they're up in the morning early, they're working. We're lucky to be based where we're based, actually, because there's a good bit of employment.
Yeah. Would you have many guys away? I know we've, clubs like Clare that have an awful lot of guys in Dublin and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I know that, yeah.
I know from a home perspective, Clonmurray Bricken have been lucky in that lads have been around. Have you noticed the same kind of thing?
Oh, definitely. There was times with Kilmehel, with Odron, with challenge matches and stuff, and Odron, the poor devil, would be only saying, we can only play on a Friday evening, and it has to be at 8 or half 8 because lads are coming down from Dublin.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. That's tough going. We have one boy now in Roscommon, and the universities are open now, so there's about 7 or 8 of them gone back, but they'll be coming back tonight for training. And then we train on Friday evening, so they'll be coming home anyway. So the load is only on the one night, just the one night for the commitment, and that's the way it was during February and March as well. So if you can come the one night, you're coming home the weekend anyway. And but the transition was big because football has changed so much. Yeah. Do the Ulster thing, getting behind the ball and the one man inside or the two. Oh my God.
It's interesting to get your perspective on it, because a lot of other people would be maybe that kind of seeing the wood from the trees sort of perspective, whereas you came in and saw how much it had changed. Did it surprise you, that it had changed so much?
Do you know what? I'll tell you the truth, Derrick. I actually thought, I'll grasp this now straight away. Not a hope. I could not grasp it. It took me to all the Cusack Cup games, and we suffered the last few of the matches. We suffered defeats against Milltown, against Innistyman, our neighbours, our friendly neighbours, Innistyman and Kilmurray. And, a lot of it was as well, like the learning curve. The learning curve. Plus, we're young, but being young and full of energy and willing to learn, you have something. You have something, you know what I mean? So we have a chance, and no harm telling Peter neither. We have a chance.
Let's bring Peter in on that. Obviously, the Gaels and Coolmeen, a nice little spicy local derby there. But overall, an awful lot of nice storylines, I guess, across a lot of the quarterfinals. You look at the senior, Clonmurray and Clonmehel, he's already mentioned, Odron O'Dwyer going back against his old club, Cratlow in his time, and they've met umpteen times. The Gaels and Coolmeen, though, there's a real nice storyline there. Martin Morrissey, 1997 Clare Championship winning captain over Coolmeen, taking on a Shannon Gaels team now managed by the man that managed Clare 97 in Paddy Keane. So it's probably symptomatic, Peter, of the GA, isn't it, that no matter what pairings you get, like that. There's always those little backstories that people can latch onto.
Yeah, definitely. I honestly think that the 4 senior quarterfinal draws and the 4 intermediate draws, that they're very nicely balanced. You couldn't with absolute certainty say that this team will definitely beat whoever they're playing. And I think one of the key things to that is the fact that there's less teams now playing senior and there's more teams playing intermediate. Like the intermediate is a lot harder to win this year than it has been for a few years. When there was 8 teams in it, like it's gone from 8 to 12, and senior, as we know, has gone from 16 down to 12. And I think it's there's less room at senior level to make a mistake, or if you do, you could end up Clondegad. Like, who would have thought? No, I know it was a very tough group. So somebody from Aerogue, Clondegad, Cratloe were going to end up in a relegation semi-final. And still, and I mean, we've said this a few times here as well on in the podcast, that there still have been a good few senior games, to be fair, that have been fairly one-sided.
There is,
The intermediate, I think, is definitely a better championship than it has been. But just looking at those, I mean, Kilmahill arguably probably gave the performance of the last round at senior level. Like, they've got some very, very good young players, and they play nice attacking football. And to score, what did it? 5-11.
5-11. They were 5-11 to 5 up with 5 minutes to go, and Kilrush got 1-6 to kind of colour the score in a little bit, but it was just complete domination from Kilmahill.
That's quite a score, like, and no, there's going to be a massive test of Kilmahill now against Kilmurray, but I think Kilmahill they'll be up for that. They don't lack a bit of belief. So the same with the other games, as you said, in Enstime and Cratloe.
Yeah, they've been a lot of times, and then we've had Dombega and Aerogue as well, which is another
Dombega-Aerogue. I mean,
tough tie as well. Dombega will be buoyed from that draw with Curry Clare. They had to battle.
Actually,
for it.
one of the most impressive individual performances that I've seen in championships up to now. I haven't seen every game, but Sean Conway from Dombega, I thought, had an absolutely great game.
3 points from wing back,
3 from play. He just looks to have he's a lot to offer. He's kicking, his ball handling, all that, very, very good. Very athletic player as well. I'd say, the likes of him now, if Dombeg can, produce another player or two like him, that's all you want, 1 or 2 each year, Milltown, Lissycasey, Milltown, will be favourites, but I think there might be a big one in Lissycasey. They've done a lot of work. They're well organised there with Ger Bobby Kelly. And they have a good age profile as well. They're no longer a young team. They're kind of I describe them nearly as a middle-aged team at this stage. They have a good bit of experience, but still plenty legs at the same time.
Absolutely. And just that other, I suppose, intermediate tie, if memory serves correct, Kildicer-Kilfenora was a final 2 years ago that went to a replay, I think, before Kilfenora came up. Certainly 2-3 years ago, I can remember being at the Dron game in Cusack Park that day. So again, loads of those little storylines. But I suppose, Donie, from your own perspective, we've mentioned Brickens, obviously. I mean, it's a big month in Lisdoonvarna with all that's going on.
Yeah.
I suppose that has it been traditionally a difficult month to manage, because lads are working, I guess, late in bars and stuff like that, and there's a lot going on around. But there was a video going around on social media during the week that I think it was Paddy Power or someone had their marketing team up there, and out the back of the Hydro they spotted St. Brickens training. So in the midst of all the madness, here were Brickens. They were focused, ready for that game against Aerogue. Wow. So it looks like it's This is eye on the ball kind of stuff from
Well, like, when I speak about Colm Collins and Brian Cody and the football man and this common sense and just being honest, if you start working and you start preparing the administration side of the football in January, you start working in February because the QC Cup is coming up in March, so you continue on like for 7 or 8 months. You can't let like a little festival interrupt your schedule. Come on, let's get to the program. So one thing that I spoke about in the last few weeks was last September and the previous September, when we were doing the car parking for the festival in Lisdoonvarna. We do it for Lisdoonvarna Fáilte, which looks after the facilities. owns the facilities and looks after the pavilion and the theatre, and so we need all the revenue we can get. We're there as volunteers. That there was no football going on in the GA pitch, and I started asking questions, and they said no, they're in the relegation and the morale is low, and so we spoke about that to the players, that there's going to be football and we're going to be going on in September in Listonvarna. We need to be doing that, like doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. There needs to be a standard set. Like we're not a small club, we're a big club, and Burden Gales are in there with us as well, and there's a load of girls, a load of ladies, there's a load of underage football development squads, and with a lot of good people, the Paula Loughlin's, the Michael Howleys, the Dennis Driscolls, Sean O'Donnell, all those people, Kenneth Flanagan, the chairman, Sean McNamara, John Carey, they're all active all the time, and Paul Hogan with the face clot, as we call it, the Paul Hogan does the face clot, and you have to keep putting your club out there, Peter, don't you? Like, the thing about it is, Peter, I'm going to ask you a question. What's the most popular soft drink in the world?
Well, I would have probably thought Coke.
What's the most advertised soft drink in the world?
There you are.
There you are. You have to keep putting yourself out there.
Agreed completely.
Out there all the time. The Gales, and that's good. That's one thing as well. When we look for, scores or results, like, I can be at a game down. I was at a game at the Bridge last Wednesday night, the Bridge and Avenue in the Premier League, because I don't want to lose touch. And, I was there and I was finding out the scores of minor championship matches around the county on my phone, from 6 Mile Bridge.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, Going back to the intermediate football, Derrick, I see Kildare and Kilfenora. That'll be a game. That'll mark my words. Mark my words. Aidan O'Keefe is no silly boy, and that'll be a game. And I know that Kildare have been in the county final last year, and they're formidable. But take Kilfenora at your peril, boy. I'm telling you. Yeah. They're tough, and they've won senior championships in the 50s, and I've seen the medals. I've seen the medals of the senior championship winning team of the McCormicks in the 50s. They gave them into my hand and they showed them to me to let me bring them home, and the match reports, and they have that thing. Yeah,
tradition can often history. Be so much, isn't it?
That history. Yeah. And so I reckon that could be the game of the championship.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. Donie, unfortunately, we're starting to run out of time. But before we do, you mentioned there, and anybody that tracks the social medias and all that, you're a man that travels all over the world, as you referenced, supporting the Irish soccer team. You've undertaken some mad routes to get to games in far-flung places. I mean, you must have incredible stories to tell from that.
I can tell you a story about a funny one, and I can tell you other ones as well. That, like, I've never slept for 46 hours.
Right.
I've never slept, and all I want to see is the football. I don't want to see the country. I don't want to experience the food. I want to see the football match. I'm so big into the football. I remember I went, Peter, this will be entertaining now. I went to a football match 30 years ago at Wembley, and the form wasn't great between the two countries. And it was the time of Millwall, and the fans and Villa fans, and there was a lot going on, and there was competition and all that stuff. You remember that, Derrick? You want to read about it? So me and a buddy of mine went off over 30 years ago at 7 o'clock in the morning before Ryanair. I think it was about £400 to go to London return, which is about €600 now. But sure, we were collecting and we had to go. We had to be there. Wherever the tickets came out of, I actually can't remember that part of it. But Ireland were playing England anyway. I think it was 89 or 90, which is almost 30 years ago. And we flew into Heathrow anyway. And my buddy says, do you want to go on a sightseeing tour? And I says, I don't want to do anything. I says, I want to get in the underground at Piccadilly, and I want to go to Wembley. So we were at Wembley at 10:30 in the morning, and we sat outside the door, me and him, for 10 hours.
Oh.
At Wembley until they opened the gates. There was like 80,000 people at the game. I was first in, and he was second. That's It's a fact. And we got a late equaliser through Niall Quinn.
I think that was 91.
Was it 91? Yeah.
Was it a European Championship qualifier?
Oh yeah, we scored an OG through Steve Taunton.
That's
so
right.
I always maintain we scored the 2 goals. And even in 95 during the abandoned game, we won that game. That's the official result.
Yeah, we were 1-up.
David Kelly, yeah, but we won the game. I always remember that against England.
You were there that night, were you?
No, I wasn't there that night. I wasn't there that night, and it was a poor night, for football. But we won the match 1-0. That's the official result, which is the most important thing.
I know they
haven't beaten us in 40 years.
Right, we'll hold on to that, won't we?
Oh yeah, that's
absolutely.
For sure.
But Wembley seems a little bit close to home, but you've had those overnight trains to fly into remote airports and all that kind of thing. What
have you heard, Derrick?
We'll talk off air about that, Donie. But I'm just wondering, is that part of the travelling supporter being lost a little bit? Is it because you've been doing that with years? Are people as inclined to still do that?
Well, just the home games in Dublin, there's always a lot of people looking for tickets and everything like that. And, the Clare League, do really good work to source tickets. Not the easiest thing in the world, no, I'm telling you. Everybody wants them for the big games. They're giving away tickets for the game against Bulgaria tonight, but we have football tonight and we have intermediate championship, so I'm not going to the soccer tonight. But anyways, journeys. I'll tell you another funny one. The night that we played France, it was 0-0 in the Parc de France in the European Championship or the World Cup qualifier. It was 0-0, and I drove from London. To I think Falmouth. Got the train under the English Channel. Me and John O'Malley, Alfonso, and a couple of more boys. I don't know who else was in it. And then we drove from. Do you know where the Second World War was? That area of France.
Yeah.
Normandy.
We drove from Normandy into Paris, right? So we were about to arrive in Paris anyway in record time, right? Because pedal to the metal with me. So we were in record time, and some guys that were there the previous day said, "No, slow down, go into and have a rest, because they time you once you get your ticket at the other end. If it takes so long to get over there, so slow down, take a rest." I didn't know that, so we went in anyway, and we found our hotel, and then we went to the game that evening. Of course, go to the game 5 hours beforehand, wait outside because it's burning desire inside of me. And if anybody joins me, that's grand. That's great too, and the lads join me, you know what I mean. I'm a non-drinker for the last 27 years, Derrick, so I don't have any business in the pubs. I like the rebel bands, but I can't go drinking. But anyways, so we go into we go to the game, we get a great result, we go out afterwards, there's a party, then the sleep hits. The sleep hits me very bad, about 2:00 in the morning. So we go back to the hotel, and I'm in a bunk bed. In the second bed, I'm in the bunk bed. This is fact. I'm in a bunk bed, and at 4:00 in the morning, the boy said an alarm went off overhead my head. A fire alarm in the hotel, and I slept through it until 9:00 in the morning. And it was only that far away from my ear. That's how tired I was.
Well, see, Donie, if you spent an hour outside the ground rather than 5 hours, maybe.
Yeah, if I don't know, if those 4 hours could be used.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah. Come on, Peter. Yeah.
Donie, will we qualify? We got a big result with the Danes in Georgia the other night, didn't we?
Oh man, what a result! Yeah. I pulled over on the road watching the live scores on my phone. I'm glad he said he pulled over now, just for any guards watching. Yeah. Safety first. After the pedal to the metal thing, now they might be watching. Yes. Hey, listen, that was in another country, and it was a rented car. Let someone else pay the fine. But anyways, will we qualify? Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Anything with Mick. Martin before it. I know it got grey with Martin and Roy and everything, but they did good work for Ireland, and Martin sure has a tremendous record with Forest, with Celtic, with Leicester, with clubs that wouldn't, and with Mick is brilliant. Oh man, he's brilliant. I love him. I loved him as a player. Take no prisoners. If the ball passes you, make sure the man doesn't pass you. Mick is brilliant, and he made a living out of that, Peter. He made a living out of, that guy from, was it Yorkshire?
Barnsley,
yeah. He made a living, teeth tough, take no prisoners. He became a professional footballer, a professional manager, an international manager. He is good. You know, when there's a game and they're playing Denmark, or when there's a game they're playing Switzerland, and they come and just before the game, the two managers shake there just before the game starts. They know they've shook hands to somebody when they shake hands to Mick. Don't they, Peter?
They do, and I think when you look at his club record as well, I mean, okay, he was sacked by Wolves, was it 8 or 9 years ago? They ended up down in League One. You know, like they didn't exactly improve after he left. And even if you look at Ipswich as well, you know, I mean, he did a very steady job with Ipswich, spending very, very little money.
Yeah, and then the fans turned against him.
The supporters turned against him. They got rid of him, and they're
gone down now.
They're in League One now. They're doing a bit better, but they're still in League One. You know, so I think his longevity as a manager has been.
Oh, he's tremendous, and he's highly respected. Highly respected, Mick. And tonight will be only a little kickabout tonight from, you know, the big one is in Georgia. If we can do what the Danes failed to do in Georgia, I think it's the 12th of October, 7:45 kickoff. Yeah, if they can do what they didn't do,
what time will you be at that game?
Oh, well, I'll be there whatever time the plane lands. I'll go straight to the ground. Yeah, it's a brilliant country, by the way. Somebody at the ferries in Doolin to Ireland ferries said it to me the other day. Somebody arrived with an FAI shirt, and I just asked them, you know, we at the game the other night, and they said, yeah. And I says, were you ever in Tbilisi? He says, I was there the last time, I'm not going this time. Brilliant country, brilliant food, friendly people. You'll have an amazing time. And I didn't know about Tbilisi, you know what I mean? I haven't been to Tbilisi before. So we're going via Istanbul, and Liverpool have great memories of Istanbul, haven't they?
They have. And that's what better note to finish up on for two United fans being asked here about Liverpool, and a Liverpool fan standing right behind the camera, Sean. Donie, a pleasure to have had you in. Thanks so much for taking the time to come into us here this evening. A pleasure as always. Donie Garrihy there, our special guest on this week's Champion Sports Chat podcast. In terms of the paper on Thursday, loads to look forward to, reports from the football, previews of the hurling. We've got loads of golf as well, the home internationals up in Lynch. We've got details of that and plenty more besides. Do pick it up, and we're back again next week.